In 1997, my father's sister, or my aunt, fell gravely ill and passed away in Laos. My father had recently received a promotion at work, but was still in training and didn't want to miss the opportunity. He knew that if he flew to Laos, he wouldn't make it in time. Once he got there, he wouldn't get to see her. They would have already buried her. My father called one of our relatives in Laos to go get a camcorder and record the funeral for him, and my father would send him some money. The relative was someone who owned some cows. He sold one of his cows and bought a camcorder and started recording some parts of the funeral. If my father had to send him money, then once the money got to them, it would already be too late. They might already have buried his sister. That's why his relative had to sell a cow to buy a camcorder and some tapes for recording. I remember they sent my father this big old box with some tapes in there. My father would play them on the TV in our living room. I remember some relatives being interviewed or recorded while talking, or sending my father a message. My father's brother-in-law was seen sobbing and saying, "Your sister had left us behind. We're not sure how our life is going to be like from now on." My father was watching that and he was sad too, so he responded, don't worry, I will send you some money for the kids." That night, I was doing my homework late into the night, and after that, I started reading some notes for my college chemistry class. Then, I heard someone knocking on our front door. My room is the closest to the living room, so I heard this knocking. Eventually, I heard my father calling me, "Peng! Peng! Open the door and come help me." I was like, what the F? I got out of bed to open the door, and it was my father standing outside with a long black bag on his shoulder. He carried that bag and laid it on the sofa. Then he told me to go turn on the light, and I did. I asked him what's in the bag, and he said, "It's your aunt." My father opened the zipper on the bag, and I saw this dry, black, and peeling face. Inside the bag was a lot of dirt. My father slapped my hand and said, "That's your aunt. Greet her. She's here." I woke up. It was almost 12 a.m. I fell asleep while reading, so I got up to take a leak. After I used the bathroom, I looked at the living room and still saw my father lying there asleep on the sofa. I guess he was watching the funeral and then he fell asleep. The little tape was already done because each little tape only plays for 20 minutes. There's nothing on the TV anymore. I woke my father, and he said to turn off the TV and VCR. My father went to bed while I turned the TV off. But I got scared from my dream and just went back to my room and locked the door. The youngest in our family is Leah, who is only 7 years old. Then the second oldest is my sister B, who is 9 years old at the time. They both share the room that has a bathroom, because my parents knew that they're both girls, so when they're older, they will love that room with the bathroom. One night, Leah went to bed first. Later, B went to their room. When she went in, she did not see anything. B went to take a shower, and then when she came out, she saw something. B got scared, so she started screaming and ran over to my father, who was still watching the freaking funeral in the living room. My father went with B to their room, and there was no one there but Leah sleeping in bed. They woke Leah up, and she was okay. They didn't tell Leah anything, so she just went back to sleep. B was very scared and was crying to my mother, and my mother asked her to describe what she saw. B said that she was showering, and then when she came out, she turned off the light in the bathroom. Before it went dark in their room, she saw someone standing at the corner on the head of Leah's bed while Leah was sleeping. B then went to turn on the lamp by her bed, and she saw the auntie in the TV standing in that corner, so that's when she got scared. When I heard this, even though I was already in college, I got scared too. My mother was watching everything with my father on TV, but after that, my mother told my father not to play those movies in the house when the kids are around. My father still has a lot of tapes to watch since it was a 6-day funeral. I told my parents about the dream I had the other night that my father brought the black bag home, and it was the aunt inside. My father said, "There's nothing. The funeral is on the other side of the world. There's nothing. Stop being a chicken." That night, I went to share the room with my 2 younger brothers. I asked one of my younger brothers if they encountered anything scary, and they said no. But the one that has a girlfriend told me that he would talk to his girlfriend on the phone, and his girlfriend said she cannot believe that our parents would watch a traditional Hmong funeral in our house. My brother's girlfriend's family wouldn't watch anything like that in the house. Not even movies that portray a funeral. I remembered one day, I came home from college. I have class from 8 a.m. 10 a.m., and then I have no class for 2 hours, and I have another class which starts at 12 p.m. I came home to eat some lunch. After that, I went in the bathroom to take a dump, and as I was using the bathroom, I heard the funeral playing in my parents' room. The bathroom is next to their room and separated by a wall. I heard those cries. The creepy cries that Hmong people usually do at the funeral where they cry and talk at the same time. I thought maybe my father came home or something, and that maybe because my mother won't let him play those tapes in the living room, maybe he took the TV and VCR to their room or something. When I got out, I went to their room and there was nothing but silence. There was no TV in their room. I started calling for my father to see if he's home, but he wasn't. I was the only one. I got out of the room so fast. Later, I told my parents this, and my mother told my father that he needs to get rid of those tapes and put them outside the house. During this time, my father was watching the tape on day 5 of the funeral, and his sister was already decomposed really bad due to the humid weather of Southeast Asia. My mother doesn't even watch the tapes with my father anymore, and I can see my father didn't really want to watch it, even though it's his own sister. My mother does understand that my father is an orphan, and he only has his sister, so he's very sad. He's even more sad when he cannot go and do the funeral himself. In the video, you can see that some people were putting more and more dirt under the bamboo stretcher where my aunt lies to absorb the decomposed fluids. Even after my father put the tape in the little shed in our backyard, my 2 sisters would get scared in the middle of the night that they would see that auntie in their room. There were nights when they would see like a shadow is standing in their room, only to turn on the light and there was nothing. Even my mother would wake up to hear the funeral drum and instruments in the middle of the night. Then one night, she would hear the crying as if it was the crying from the tapes, and she would wake up my father only to no longer hear the crying. One night, my father woke up to pee in the bathroom in the hallway. He turned on the light in the bathroom and looked towards the living room. Behind the sofa, he saw like 2 legs coming out from there, and there were no shoes, but the feet were wrapped by some clothes, just like how his sister's feet were wrapped during the funeral. My father went to take a leak, and then when he came back out, he looked, and the pair of legs were gone. He knew that it was his sister, because in the video, that's all she wore. At this point, my father kind of knew that something is in the house. My parents consulted a shaman, and my father told the shaman to tell his sister that if she doesn't leave our house, he will have to send her away. After the shaman did his ritual, things were a little better for about a week. Nobody had any bad dreams or anything. Nobody saw anything scary. One day my mother woke up to get ready to take the kids to school before she goes to work at the strawberry farm. When my mother woke up, she noticed that my father didn't eat his food on the table that morning. He had a cup of water, a bowl of curry, and a plate of rice there, but he didn't eat it. My father usually goes to work at 5 in the morning. My mother thought maybe my father was running late that morning or something, but then she remembered he woke up when his alarm went off, so he shouldn't be late. Usually he has time to eat and do his coffee. I didn't think we were going to do another shamanic ritual so soon. However, that weekend the same shaman came and did another shamanic ritual. After that, 2 men took a box full of joss paper, incense, and a boiled chicken away. Not sure where they go, but later my father said they took it to dump it at the American River here in Sacramento. For those of you that don't know about this ritual, basically the shaman tricked the ghost or spirit into the box and sent it to a place far away and leave it there. I didn't know what happened, but later my mother told us that, on that early morning. My father got up and he forgot to park his car in the garage the night before. My father set his food and water on the table, and then he thought he'll go turn on his car and warm it up while he comes back to eat really quick. So, my father went to turn on his car, and when he came back, he saw his sister sitting on the chair in front of his food. He saw her from the back, and so he just left to work. I don't know how my aunt can come all the way to America. Maybe she came when they packaged those tapes in that box. I don't know. This is why, whether it's a real funeral or a fake funeral in the movie, playing it out loud in the house can attract spirits.